Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into bank-owned homes in Crystal Lake, Illinois.
Specifically, how these homes, mostly residential, right, can really shake things up in the commercial real estate world.
It's a connection that might surprise some people,
Yeah, people think of houses and businesses as totally separate, but
but they're not.
not at all.
So, for anyone listening who's thinking about investing, or maybe they own a business,
Even if you just like keeping up with real estate trends, this is some good stuff to know.
absolutely. And we're getting all our insights today from Michael Linton.
With the Chicago Deal Flow team, right?
That's right.
ChicagoDealFlow.com.
Exactly. And he's got tons of experience, over 38 years as a broker in the Chicago area.
So he's seen it all.
He has. Let's start with the basics. What exactly are bank-owned homes?
Okay, so imagine someone, unfortunately, can't keep up with their mortgage payments.
If they're behind.
Yeah. And the lender, often a bank, might have to foreclose on the property.
Tough situation.
It is. And if that house doesn't sell at auction,
What happens then?
it goes back to the bank. Becomes a bank-owned home.
Also known as an REO.
Right, real estate owned.
Got it. So the bank basically ends up owning a property they didn't plan on owning.
Pretty much. And Michael Linton points out that this whole foreclosure process,
In Crystal Lake?
yeah, in Crystal Lake, it can drag on, we're talking months sometimes.
Really?
Yeah. And during that time, the property might not be getting any care.
Falling into disrepair.
Right, which obviously affects its value, and it can bring down the whole neighborhood a bit.
Makes sense. A vacant property, it's not going to maintain itself.
Nope. And this is where things get kind of interesting for investors.
How so?
These bank-owned homes, they're often sold at lower prices.
Then similar homes in the area.
Exactly. So, savvy investors, they see an opportunity.
To get a deal.
Yeah. Michael Linton even talks about something called a covered land play.
A covered land play. What's that?
So picture this. A bank-owned home, but it's on land zone for commercial use. Right. You could buy that property, maybe rent out the house for now.
Residential income.
Yeah. And then hold on to it. Wait till the market's right for commercial development.
So you're sort of getting a jump on a future project.
Exactly. Potentially saving a lot of money down the line.
So you're kind of tapping into both the residential and commercial possibilities of that property.
That's the idea.
Pretty smart. So we see how these bank-owned homes can create opportunities, but
But there would be downsides too.
tell me more about that.
Well, if there are a lot of these homes in an area.
You can kind of signal a struggling market, right?
Exactly. And that can hurt local businesses. Less foot traffic.
Retail property values take a hit.
Yep. And it can even affect office space. People don't want to work in a place that seems like it's going downhill.
So the perception of the neighborhood really matters.
Big time. But here's the interesting part. Michael Linton also says that some investors
They actually see these areas as...
prime spots for multifamily development.
Really? Why's that?
Well, if there are lots of bank-owned homes around,
They could buy them up cheap, right?
yeah, and convert them into apartments or condos, they're betting that as the market recovers.
There'll be demand for rentals.
Exactly. It's a long-term game.
So they're taking advantage of the current situation to position themselves for the future.
That's the gist of it. It all comes down to understanding the market, recognizing both the risks and the rewards that these bank-owned homes bring to the table.
That's fascinating. I never realized how complex this niche really is.
It's a whole world unto itself, and we're just scratching the surface here.
So let's keep digging. I'm eager to hear more about the specifics of how this all works.
All right, let's dive deeper. Yeah, it really is kind of crazy how these bank-owned homes, they can impact the whole real estate scene.
Totally. We've been talking about the impact, but
Mhm.
how does a home even become bank-owned in the first place?
Right, good point.
Like, what's that whole process look like?
Michael Linton lays it all out on ChicagoDealFlow.com. It all starts when a homeowner, unfortunately, just can't keep up with their mortgage payments.
They miss payments, they go into default.
Right. And usually the lender will issue a notice of default. It's like a formal warning saying, hey, you're behind, you need to catch up.
Makes sense. And if they can't catch up,
Well, if the homeowner can't get those payments current, the property might end up at auction.
on the auction block.
Yeah. Highest bidder wins, becomes the new owner. But there's a catch.
That's the catch.
If no one bids high enough to cover the debt, or even if there are no bidders at all, the property goes back to the lender.
Ah, so that's when it officially becomes bank-owned.
Bingo. Bank-owned home, REO.
And Michael Linton says this whole process, even in Crystal Lake, it can take a while.
Months, sometimes.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. Legal stuff, paperwork.
Yeah.
It all adds up.
So while that's happening, the property's just sitting there.
Potentially vacant, yeah.
And as we talked about before, that can lead to all sorts of problems.
Deterioration, blight. It can drag down the whole neighborhood.
Not good. So it's not just a financial headache, it's a community issue too.
Absolutely. Bank-owned homes, they've got these ripple effects that go way beyond just property values.
Definitely something to think about. And it really highlights the importance of REO brokers in this market.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to bank-owned properties, you need someone who knows the ropes.
An expert.
Exactly. And that's where REO brokers come in. They're the pros in this field. They understand the whole foreclosure process, the legal ins and outs. They know the unique challenges and opportunities that come with these properties.
So they're kind of like specialized guides for investors.
That's a good way to put it. They can help you avoid pitfalls, find those hidden gems.
And ultimately make smart decisions.
Right. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, an REO broker can be a huge asset.
They're like real estate Sherpas.
Huh. I like that. Leading you through the treacherous terrain, helping you reach the summit.
Exactly. They know the best paths to take. So for anyone serious about exploring this market, connecting with an REO broker seems like step one.
Couldn't agree more. They're the key to unlocking the potential of bank-owned properties.
This is making me realize there's so much more to it than I initially thought. It's not just about finding a cheap property and flipping it.
Nope. It's way more nuanced than that. There's strategy involved. There's risk assessment.
And a lot of moving parts.
Definitely. It's like a complex puzzle.
Yeah.
And an REO broker, they can help you put all the pieces together.
It sounds like they have a real pulse on the market, too. Knowing which properties are coming up, what kind of deals are out there.
Oh, yeah. They're plugged in. They often have access to listings that you won't find anywhere else, off-market opportunities.
Insider knowledge.
That's right. And they can help you connect with the right people, lenders, contractors, lawyers.
So it's not just about finding any property. It's about finding the right property, the one that fits your goals, your strategy.
Absolutely. And an REO broker, they can help you figure all that out. They're like your real estate matchmaker.
Love that. They're setting you up with your perfect property match. This is making me think. The financial side of all this must be pretty tricky, too.
Oh, yeah. Financing.
I know.
That's a whole other ballgame.
Can REO brokers help with that as well?
Absolutely. They can connect you with lenders who specialize in bank-owned properties, people who understand the unique challenges involved.
That's reassuring to know. We talked earlier about different financing options like conventional loans, FHA 203K loans.
Right.
It's good to know that an REO broker can help navigate all that.
For sure. They can help you figure out which loan makes the most sense for your situation, your goals.
It's like having a financial advisor, but specifically for bank-owned real estate.
Pretty much. They're there to guide you every step of the way.
Wow. I'm really starting to see how valuable these REO brokers can be. They wear a lot of hats.
They do. They're negotiators, advisors, matchmakers. They're like the Swiss Army knives of real estate.
I like that. Speaking of valuable insights, Michael Linton mentioned something called a broker's price opinion on his website.
A BPO.
Yeah. What exactly is that?
So a BPO, it's basically an estimate of a property's market value. But it's done by a broker, not a licensed appraiser.
Interesting. So how does that play into bank-owned properties?
Well, lenders often use BPOs to figure out a fair asking price for a property.
Makes sense. They need to know what it's actually worth.
Right. And for investors, understanding the BPO process can be really helpful.
Why is that?
Because it gives you insight into how the lender is valuing the property, which can help you when you're evaluating deals, making offers.
It's like getting a peek behind the curtain.
Exactly. You get to see how the lender is thinking.
It gives you a bit of an edge.
For sure. And it's another example of how working with a good REO broker can really pay off.
They can help you decipher all these little details.
Absolutely. They speak the language of bank-owned real estate.
And translate it for us regular folks. You know, one thing that stood out to me on Michael Linton's website,
What's that?
he talks about the importance of not just looking at Crystal Lake in isolation.
Right.
He says you got to see it as part of a bigger picture.
He's talking about the regional market.
Exactly. Crystal Lake is the biggest city in McHenry County, but
it's still part of this larger ecosystem.
Right. Influenced by what's happening in nearby towns.
Like Algonquin, Lake in the Hills, Cary.
Even places in Kane County, like Elgin and South Elgin.
Yep. What happens in those markets can definitely ripple out and affect Crystal Lake.
And vice versa.
For sure. Real estate doesn't stop at the city limits.
It's all connected. So for investors, that means
You got to understand the regional dynamics, the
Oh.
big picture.
not just what's happening on one specific street corner.
Exactly. You got to zoom out.
It's like those weather maps, right?
Yeah.
You see the whole storm system moving across the region.
Perfect analogy.
Got to see where the market's headed.
Absolutely. If you're looking at investing in Crystal Lake.
You can't just focus on Crystal Lake.
Right. You got to consider the trends in McHenry County, maybe even beyond.
It's all about connecting the dots.
Exactly.
This is making me think about the long-term implications of all this. Bank-owned homes. They don't just affect property values or investment opportunities.
No, they can shape the future of a community.
For better or for worse.
Exactly. It's about the social and economic ripple effects.
Can you talk a bit more about that?
Sure. So if you've got a lot of bank-owned homes in an area, it can hit things like the tax base.
School funding.
Yeah, even the overall sense of community. It can be like a domino effect. One problem leads to another.
So it's not just about bricks and mortar, it's about people's lives.
Absolutely. And on the flip side, when these properties are fixed up, brought back to life,
It can really lift up a community.
for sure, it's about finding that balance, managing the challenges, harnessing the potential.
Like these properties, they're not just real estate assets. They're threads in the fabric of a community.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about seeing the interconnectedness of it all.
And working towards solutions that benefit everyone.
Exactly.
Earlier, we were talking about different strategies that investors use when looking at bank-owned properties.
Yeah.
Michael Linton has some interesting ideas on chicagodealflow.com. Let's dig into those a little more.
Sure. One strategy he highlights is the covered land play. We touched on that briefly
I
before.
remember. It sounded intriguing, but I didn't quite catch all the details.
Okay, so the covered land play, it's all about finding bank-owned homes that are on land zoned for commercial use.
Ah, so you're buying the property for its land value and the existing house.
That's your cover.
You could rent it out, bring in some income.
Yeah, while you wait for the perfect time to redevelop the property for commercial use.
It's like playing the long game in real estate.
Exactly. You're anticipating future trends, positioning yourself for success down the line.
Smart. But it sounds like it takes a certain level of expertise to pull this off.
It does. You need to be able to spot those properties with hidden commercial potential.
That's where someone like Michael Linton comes in. He's got that knack for seeing the potential that others might miss.
He does. He's been doing this for a long time. He knows the market inside and out.
So covered land play is one strategy. What else does he suggest?
He also talks about targeting distressed commercial REOs.
Distressed commercial REOs. So we're not just talking about houses anymore.
Nope. This is about commercial properties, office buildings, retail spaces, warehouses.
That have been foreclosed on.
Right. They're owned by the bank and they're often in rough shape.
Fixer-uppers?
Yeah, but for the right investor, they're gold mine.
You can buy them below market value, fix them up.
Add value, maybe renovate, reposition them in the market, or just bring them up to code.
It's like finding a diamond in the rough and polishing it up.
That's a great way to put it. It's about seeing the potential, even when it's hidden beneath the surface.
So we've got covered land play and distressed commercial REOs. Anything else in Michael Linton's bag of tricks?
He also mentions portfolio acquisitions.
Portfolio acquisitions.
And
That's that.
It's about buying multiple bank-owned properties all at once.
Both buying.
Yeah. Lenders are often willing to give discounts when you're buying a bunch of properties.
Makes sense. They want to move those assets off their books.
Right. And for investors, it can be a way to get a bigger bang for your buck.
Diversify your portfolio.
Exactly.
But it sounds like a pretty advanced strategy.
It is. You need to have the capital, the experience, the team to manage all those properties.
Not for the faint of heart.
Nope. But for the right investor, it can be very lucrative.
We've been talking about a lot of old school real estate strategies here. But what about technology? How is tech changing the game when it comes to bank-owned properties?
That's a great question. It's something that Michael Linton touches on, too. He talks about online property auctions.
So it's not just about those in-person auctions anymore.
Nope. Technology has opened up the world of auctions to everyone.
You can bid on properties from anywhere in the world.
Exactly. More competition, but also more opportunities.
It's amazing how tech is making this whole process more accessible.
It really is. And it's not just auctions. There are all sorts of online platforms that are making the real estate process more efficient. Property search websites, virtual tours, digital document signing.
Streamlining everything.
Totally. And it's only going to continue.
So investors need to keep up with the times.
Absolutely. The real estate landscape is changing fast. Those who adapt will thrive.
We've focused a lot on the financial and strategic aspects of bank-owned properties.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, real estate is about people.
It is. It's about creating spaces where people live, work, connect.
And in the case of bank-owned homes, it's often about helping people through a tough time.
Foreclosure is never easy. It can be really emotional for homeowners.
And that's where the role of an REO broker becomes even more important.
Yeah, they're not just deal makers, they're problem solvers,
Okay.
facilitators.
Helping both the lender and the homeowner navigate this process.
Exactly, making it as smooth and painless as possible.
It takes a special kind of person to do that well.
It does. You need to be knowledgeable, resourceful, but also compassionate.
You got to understand both the numbers and the human side of things.
Absolutely. It's about seeing the people behind the transactions, treating everyone with respect and dignity.
This conversation is really giving me a new appreciation for REO brokers. It's a much more complex role than I ever imagined.
It is. They're kind of like the unsung heroes of real estate.
Working behind the scenes, making things happen.
Exactly.
And in the world of bank-owned homes, that human touch is so important.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the numbers, the strategies. But you're right, real estate always comes back to people.
And when it comes to bank-owned homes, that human side is even more important. I mean, we've talked about the opportunities. But let's not forget, these situations often involve people going through some really tough stuff.
Foreclosure is no joke. It can be a really difficult experience. And that's where a good REO broker can make a real difference. They can help guide everyone through the process, make it as painless as possible.
Michael Linton really emphasizes the importance of financing when it comes to bank-owned properties.
Yeah.
He mentions a few different options on chicagodealflow.com.
Yeah, he does. Starts with conventional loans, which are pretty common. But those often have stricter requirements, especially when it comes to the property's condition. So if you're looking at a place that needs a lot of work,
A conventional loan might not be the best fit.
right, might not work.
So what are some alternatives, like if you're dealing with a fixer-upper?
Well, he mentions FHA 203K loans. Those are specifically designed for properties that need renovation.
So you can roll the repair costs into the mortgage.
Exactly.
That's handy. Makes those projects a lot more manageable. But what about investors who are looking to flip properties quickly? What kind of financing works for them?
For those folks, Michael Linton talks about hard money loans.
Hard money loans. Those are the ones with higher interest rates, right?
Yeah, typically short-term loans. But they give you the speed and flexibility you need for a quick turnaround.
So there are options out there. It's just about finding the right fit for your strategy, your timeline.
Exactly. No one-size-fits-all solution. And that's where having a good REO broker can be so helpful.
They can help you navigate those choices, connect you with the right lenders.
Absolutely. They know who to talk to. They can help you put together the best possible financing package.
It's like having a real estate concierge, taking care of all the details.
Yeah, I like that. A real estate concierge, making sure everything runs smoothly.
Earlier, we were talking about how some investors see opportunities where others see challenges. And that seems to be Michael Linton's whole philosophy, especially when it comes to bank-owned properties.
He definitely has a knack for spotting potential. He talks about how some investors specifically target bank-owned homes because they know they can often get them at a lower price.
It's like bargain hunting, but for real estate.
In a way, yeah, but it's more than just finding a good deal. It's about seeing the possibilities.
Having a vision for what that property could be.
Exactly, whether it's through renovations, repositioning, or just bringing the property up to code.
It's about transforming something that's maybe been neglected, overlooked.
And turning it into something valuable.
Creating something new.
Yeah.
And that takes vision, expertise. It's not something you just stumble into.
Definitely not. You need to do your research, understand the market, and honestly, a little bit of gut instinct helps too.
That's where someone like Michael Linton comes in. He's got that experience. He's seen it all. He knows what works.
And what doesn't. He can save you a lot of headaches, help you avoid those costly mistakes.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into bank-owned homes, what's the biggest takeaway here? What should our listeners keep in mind?
I think the main thing is, specialized knowledge is power. Whether you're an investor, a homeowner, or just someone curious about real estate, understanding the nuances of this market can give you a real advantage.
And luckily, there are resources out there to help people learn. Michael Linton's website, chicagodealflow.com, is a great example.
He's got a ton of great info on there, articles, videos, market reports. It's definitely worth checking out.
He's been incredibly generous with his time and insights today, giving us a real peek behind the curtain of this fascinating world.
It's been a great conversation.
It has. And for our listeners out there, keep exploring. Keep asking questions. There's always more to learn about real estate. And who knows, maybe you'll discover your own passion for bank-owned properties.
You never know what opportunities are out there waiting to be discovered.
That's a great point. Well, folks, that's a wrap for today's Deep Dives. A huge thank you to Michael Linton for sharing his expertise with us.
He's a true wealth of knowledge.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us. Until next time, happy investing.